Good morning, everybody. We're at a sunny La Rochelle this morning, and today we're going to go through some of the Dufour range, starting with the Dufour 37. This took over from the 360, which took over from the Dufour 35 or 350. This was a new model in 2022. It's a nice size boat. I've had a quick look around the outside. So here we go. Okay, starting at the transom. I've lowered it down for you guys to see. It's a very, very simple operation. Have a look when we get into the cockpit. But you have a nice, easy step down. As you can see, centrally, you have your life raft. For a 37-foot boat, you know, it's a nice size bathing platform. You have a bathing ladder over there, and you'll see when we get on board. Excuse the military. Well, we'll show you where your shore power is and so on. Obviously, if you're med-mooring or having a swim, access onto the boat is here. I shouldn't say obviously anymore. It's becoming a fun game with everybody. Both port and starboard, you have access to pontoons or marina wall side access. It's really nice. While we're on the deck, I'm going to go straight forward. So this one's actually been nicely fitted out. You've got your spray hood, something that we always talk about. You've got a forward grab handle. You can use your arch here if you want to, and then come straight down along to your walkway, and you'll see all throughout there are clip-on points for harnesses. Have outboard shrouds. Just while we're here, as you can see with haddies and sheets, still some mousing lines. There's a lot of lines to set up on here, so for reefing and so on, and they'll all come down to deck management system, run along underneath, and when we get into the cockpit, you'll see there is a bank of clutches. And aft, aluminium mast, you know, stat pack. Nice to see things are kept quite simple, and you have a German main sheet system. So this is quite nice actually on blocks, the way they've set it up. So there's no traveller, but see, if it was me, I would actually rig something up, because I'm like that. So I'd actually rig it up with a Dyneema, and then back to a pulley and a block back into the cockpit, so that I could actually adjust your pulley area here, along, run down, and then all the way back to your cockpit. So tacking, managing your sails is really, really simple. You'll see when we get in, something Dufour do really, really nicely for over the saloon and so on. They always have these sort of skylight windows in, which is very, very nice. Flush hatches all the way through, and this one has been set up with a self-tacking jib. I'll have a look to see if there's an option for a Genoa on this particular one. You know how I feel about that. Bonjour. Speed further, Lumar anchor windlass, and you have a water fill forward. It's quite nice, as you do have electric feet control for your windlass and a single barrel roller. One thing I'm enjoying a lot about the modern day barrel rollers, and even for say a 37-foot boat, this is large enough for you to actually walk out on, and safe enough, and then clip on your Jenica or Code D, Code 0, whatever it is you fitted it out with. I'm going to give you a look aft, so you get an idea of actually how beamy this boat is. It's a smashing boat. It's a lot of these companies now, Dufour, Jano, they're really sort of busting it out with the small boats. I absolutely love it. It brings more of that comfort to smaller boats. Very, very nice wide decks. Point that out, it's really easy to get around on this boat. And then coming back into the cockpit. Very nice central seat, which doubles up as a lazarette locker. Once again, down here, you have clipping on points for harness. And while we're right in the middle, you have your emergency tiller access just here. So starting on the starboard side, you might be able to see your backstays running up. They're not adjustable backstays on this boat, but it might be an option you can ask for if you want a slightly sportier rig. Jeffer steering, some nice carbon Nautica wheels. You know, this boat's been optioned out quite nicely. Right, I spoke about this. I'll leave a link for it at the Boot Dusseldorf for the 44 and the 530. But it's basically their, you know, if you've got your bow and stern thrusters, and you can basically just take the boat, parallel park it really, really nicely. It's a lovely bit of kit. Your Volvo Penta engine start stop, obviously your throttle control, and then under here your Raymarine touch. I love the new Raymarine instruments, and autopilot. Very, very nice pedestals, got really good grab handles. It's a shame I haven't got anybody to hold the camera for me. I'll see if I can get a still picture, but there's plenty of room. Just down to my right here, you have your throttle control and a really nice, let's make sure I'm not dropping my mobile over the side. When you're sitting on the helm, you actually have a really nice view forward. I'm hoping if we get to the Palma Boat Show, we can get out onto a test sail. And then over to the port helm. This is what I was talking about. It's really easy. The step automatically folds down. And you can, just one-handed, you can pull up or drop. Very, very simple. I think my 6-year-old could lift it. And I know she's a bit of a brute, but you know, really, really easy, nicely done. And then onto your port helm. While we're here, you have your shore power, emergency bilge pump, and another water fill for your tanks. And somewhere, anyway, repeated on the port side. Once again on this pedestal, really, really nice grab handle. It's at a nice angle, so a lot of people do their pedestals. I'll give you an idea. So you have a slightly angled pedestal to reduce glare. A lot of people have them flat, and it annoys me because as soon as the sun comes over you get glare, but with these it's not so bad. You'll see sun is out. So once again, the new Raymarine Touch chart plotter, lovely bits of kit, and a repeater on this side. You can set it up as, you know, wind instruments, depth, all that sort of stuff. Lumar 40 self-tailing winch. I should imagine you can option this out as electric. There's one of those banks of clutches we were talking about. As you can see, really nice all the way through. I have the granny bonnet up for us today. It's very welcoming because even though the sun's out, it's not too warm, but we're sheltered and it's lovely. Excuse my junk forward. So on the starboard side, there is a lazarette. I'm going to point this out because this is the 2-cabin version. So you can have a 2-cabin or a 3-cabin version. This is the 2-cabin version, and with it you get a Very large storage lazarette area for spare sails and all sorts of bits and pieces. If it was my money and you're just a couple or a small family, this is the option I would go for, because normally, we'll have a look when we get inside, but normally it gives you the option of having a larger heads and shower. The port helm, you have your gas locker. There's oodles of room in there. I don't know why there's only a tiny bottle. You could put a big 35 kilo bottle in there if you wish. There's enough room to be a very nice boat. I'll give you a pano of the cockpit. There's a lot of space in here. Dufour comfort cockpit table. Got a icebox, cool box here. Some space for bottles or cups, and then once again more space here. Forward by your companionway, you have two, so both port and starboard, two Lumar self-tailing winches. While I'm pointing this way, you can see when we were talking forward, so I don't know how good your French is, but re1, so this is a reef, so obviously they got their mousing lines in. Fock, I don't know, I'll translate for you. If Babbel sponsor us, we'll do a translation for you guys. There we go. So everything runs through the decks, come forward. Really loving this boat. As you know, a bugbear for me is the washboards. Smaller boats, you know, there's not a lot you can do about it. So I've just opened up the companionway. For the moment, I'm looking around boats, so I don't need to put it anywhere. If you have that nice big locker, obviously you have somewhere for your washboard to pop down. One thing I do quite like, and there is a lock, I'll show you the little lock behind here, so you can lock it off to stop it closing. If you have small kids and you don't want them coming out into the cockpit, or you're underway and you want to give yourself a little extra protection of maybe water coming in and so on, you have this nice little, and it just pops down out the way. You know, I know it's not rocket science, but it's really, really nice. Before we go down the companionway, I'll give you a view from up here, because it's a very deep boat. Right, so the companionway steps come down. The companionway steps are quite deep, but to get the volume inside, they've had to go, you know, as far into the bilges as possible to give you maximum amount of space, but also, you know, leave the surfaces pretty much as they should be. Let's start on the port side. So port side aft, I haven't got much, I don't think the electrics, no, they haven't popped the electrics on yet. So port side aft, you have a very, very large double, and as you can see, it actually goes down into the cockpit. I like this configuration. I wish more boats would go back to it, because it gives you a lot more space. And if you have a look under there, the back there, that's where your emergency rudder stock goes through. There is access to services at the back and some small storage areas there. I'm going to stand to give you an idea by the door. I'm 5'8", 5'9". There's enough room to turn around here, you know, get dressed, get undressed. Actually on the bed, so give you an idea this way. You know, there's plenty of space. It's a small boat. So just to my right, there is a reading light here with USB charging and access to your mechanical department. Behind the door, there is access to mechanical department. So I've been speaking French all morning, and it's Going backwards and forwards is quite difficult sometimes. Once again, USB charging, nice reading light, and these will do red light for when you're under passage if you wish. And then just in here you have a hanging locker and some shelves. I think it's really nice. Don't get me wrong, I love looking around the big boats. We all want a big boat, but if you're starting out, you're looking for something that's going to be easy to run, relatively easy to maintain because it's a boat, and that's all you're going to spend your time doing is maintaining it. You know, these smaller boats are just brilliant. So you have your gimbaled 2-burner stove underneath. I'm not going to take it off, but this actually comes off, you know, put a tray on it if you're underway or whatever, and it's a good use of what would normally be a worktop that folds behind, or, you know, you chuck away somewhere. So these overhead lockers are quite good, reasonable size. There is bottled storage for wine or olive oil down next to the cooker, which is actually really nice and handy. And there are some alcoves behind here for your other bits and pieces, and a top loading fridge. And if you can see all the way back there, there's actually quite a lot of space. Dual stainless steel sink, salt water and fresh water. You have a salt water pump just down here, and your emergency gas shut off. There we go, should be down here. There's one thing I'd like to say is that I know it's limited for space. It'd be really good if yacht manufacturers actually made a little drawer to go in here, because if you're underway or whatever and it's a little bit bumpy, even in a small boat, and you've got some pots and pans under here, they're just gonna, they bounce out all the time. It's an absolute pain. But you know, yeah, storage under the sink, and which they've always kept, should be your bin. There we go. We looked around 35 years ago. Somebody had it under lease and we were going to take it on. For one or two reasons we didn't. Nothing to do with the boat, it was just personal. Sometimes I wish that we had, because it was a cracking boat, and this one is just as nice, if not better. So, starboard side, this is what you gain if you have that extra locker. It's a wet heads, but it's a nice big heads. So, manual flush toilet. Should imagine there's an option for electric, but I wouldn't bother, as it's your day heads and your only heads. And a sink, nice Corian, and here's your, should be able to pop it out, there you go, your shower head, and that just pops up. I'll come back so you can see, that pops up just there, and you have your hot and cold thermostatic tap there. It's nice, it's good. You know, it says exactly what it is. You know, what's that expression, says what it is on the tin. This boat doesn't pretend to be anything other than a comfortable family cruiser. And I know I would be more than happy with it if we were just going to coastal cruise and go away for a week or two with Abigail, you know, and the dog. There's that access into your sail locker. Be more than happy with this boat. If I come back a bit, you'll see, if you had the 3 cabin option up through here, these are the divides where you would have that access to the cabin. There is ventilation up above and a really nice port light window, so you have plenty of light. Okay. Oof. Starboard side, there's ventilation. I didn't point it out, but right behind my head over the cooker, you have ventilation as well. All the port lights have blinds, and let me just move my camera out of the way. That plenty of space. And then underneath, I suppose like a little office space, you put a laptop there if you want. You know, there's plenty of storage for all of us that like storage. Some big storage cupboards and a really nice drawer. You have your main switches here, and then Raymarine VHF, and this one's got a Fusion stereo. Then overhead, some very nice lockers. So you have 3 starboard and then 3 on the port. You know, what can you say? Plugs, USB charging. There is storage underneath the seats. So they're simple bank seats. But if you're doing an overnight passage, you know where you're going to be sleeping. They'll be nice and comfortable. Right, we're going to go into the discussion of chart tables. Because it's a smaller boat, there isn't what you would call a dedicated nav desk, but as you can see, someone is keeping their pencils and pens in here and other bits and pieces. For me, once you have the table folded out, that side folds out as well, I think there is plenty of room to look at a chart. If you want to have a look at a chart, open your laptop or your iPad, look at your navionics and so on. Underneath here there is a puff stool chair that pulls out, so you can have somebody sat here at the end if you want for extra dining, or just somewhere to put your feet up if that's what you want. And funnily enough is your cutlery drawer for your galley, which is in respect a intelligent place for it, because most of your eating is going to be done here or up in the cockpit. Smaller boats, yacht manufacturers have to be more intelligent in their designs for storage, and as the boats get bigger, the storage solutions become less and less intelligent and more generic. But this, for cutlery, it's just practical, you know. Easy, clever thinking, mast compression post, and then forward you have a double V-berth. I mean, you could say it's a semi-island, but you have a step up. There's plenty of space, plenty of room. You have your own opening hatch with mosquito netting and privacy blinds, something I quite like. Jano have done this, that if you want to have more space or more light, you can open both sections up and have it all the way open, which I think is really, really good. Who's this boat for? This boat is for a small family or a couple that just enjoy sailing. Maybe you're downsizing, you've got older, you're downsizing and you want something easier to handle. There is loads of space in here. There's a lot you could do with this boat if you want. It's a good boat. I like it. Give you a quick look at the engine department. And one thing I want to say is a massive thank you to everybody that's been subscribing lately. It's a big help. Every time you comment or watch a video, hit that like button. It absolutely, you've got no idea how much it helps the channel. It helps us get out there. So have a look at the engine compartment before this goes on too long. So just under your companionway, you have access to your Volvo Penta diesel. It's all pretty, explanatory. Both side panels, so you have access both sides and aft to be able to get to your engine. You know, I know with these smaller boats, it's always sort of more difficult to get into your engine spaces, but space is as a premium. There is an option for a larger engine. Before I close that down, the soundproofing looks pretty decent. So there you go. See you on the next one.